Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak about the key financial tips for 2026. Now I do want to make one thing very clear though. This is not financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. All of this is just pure content for you to dig upon and do further research on your own. But I do hope that in the end, you do find a lot of value in this because I do think that in 2026, a lot of us can win and we can win financially. A lot of us have been focusing on our health, on our families, but let's start off the year right by taking the right steps financially. And I want to give you guys a better understanding on what 2026 is going to look like. It's not going to be a crisis type of year, but it's definitely not a turn your brain off type of year. Once we do have a better understanding on what 2026 will look like, then I will be talking about the tips so we can know how to attack the environment that we are going to be living in. So there is going to be about a 35% chance of a recession in 2026, meaning that job security and income volatility is really going to matter. It's also highly likely that inflation is going to be at around 2.6 to 3%, which is going to quietly eat your money if you just let your money sit still somewhere in your account, most likely. We can also say that global GDP growth is projected to grow at around 2.8%, which is solid. The US stocks could gain 14%, mostly driven by the AI related companies. And yes, it is going to be a very big AI year. The markets are going to be polarized. The interest rates may slowly come down, but borrowing is still very expensive. And most importantly, automation, AI tools, and digital banking is going to become the norm for almost everybody, maybe even for your mom and maybe even for your grandma. So I do think that the opportunities for all of us is going to be existing, but your foundation is going to have to be very strong. And that is going to be step one, right? To build a financial foundation. This has to come first before anything else. Before you invest in any sort of side hustle, before any AI stock, you need stability. You need to know exactly where you do stand because you cannot improve on something that you just don't measure. And you have to do two simple things, right? Know your net worth, which is what you own minus what you owe, and then your cash flow. Know what money is coming in versus how much money is coming out each month. You must know that. That is the foundation and the baseline. This is going to show you where your money is leaking, how much flexibility you're actually going to have, and what does need fixing first. There's so many budgeting apps out there on the App Store. You can even use a simple spreadsheet to really understand what everything does look like. All of us do need to live below our means, right? To create that margin. There has been this way of thinking, right? That living below your means that you're gonna have to suffer, that you're gonna be starving, that you're gonna have to like really go through it and not enjoy anything at all. But I think that we have to shift our perspective and say, no, this is not suffering. This is more about creating breathing room. And the reason why this matters in 2026 is because inflation quietly is raising the prices. The job markets can slow down very fast and flexibility is power. Like it just is. And the goal here is to spend less than you earn and turn the leftover into either savings and investments. So I would say that this gap that you create, right, when you live below your means is you're creating that margin of freedom, which leads me towards step number 2, to create a emergency fund. This is going to be your financial seatbelt in case of any emergencies do happen in your life. It's a non-negotiable in 2026 with a recession being at risk. As we discussed, right, there is a 36% chance that it could happen. We have to understand that emergencies through your life is something that could happen at any moment, and a emergency fund is the best way to complement that because what's going to happen is you're going to be able to prevent debt. You're going to be able to buy some time in case your income does drop, whether your employer says they're going to have to work only 20 hours this week and for the next 4 or 5 weeks, it'll buy you time to maybe find some other alternative to bring new incomes in, and you're going to be able to use that emergency fund to pay for the things that you're supposed to be paying for. It also does make you have calm decisions instead of the panicked ones. So for example, let's just say you and your girlfriend are talking about going to a trip at Disneyland. You have no money. You have spent all of your money on either expenses or anything under the household, and you want to go to that Disney trip. The average person would just say, okay, I'm just going to have to pull out a credit card and get approved real quick and use that credit card to pay for the tickets to go to Disneyland. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to say, okay, let's just use this emergency fund for a trip like this, and there will be no problem. It makes you have a calm decision over panicked ones, because usually the panicked ones are the most ridiculous, stupid decisions, like pulling out a credit card just to go and have a vacation. In terms of how much to save, minimum, you would want enough to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Ideally, you would want 6 to 12 months for that peace of mind to make sure that everything's going to be okay no matter what. Whether you get fired or whether your employer reduces your hours or if you get injured, you're going to be okay and you're going to have time on your hands. It's okay to start with $1,000, make that as your first goal and build steadily with automation. We'll talk about automation in just a few minutes in this video. You would also want to keep this money in a high yield savings account. I know that sounds very boring, and I know that you're probably going to earn like 4% APY per year on your money. I know that you're going to want like $5,000 a month in terms of growth, but this is the most boring, but but it is safe and it'll keep you strong. Let's move on towards step number 3. Kill the bad debt in 2026. The reason why debt is very dangerous right now is because the high interest debt grows faster than inflation. It blocks the cash flow. It limits your ability to invest during market opportunities. And in terms of the priority on what you want to tackle first, depending on how many loans and credit cards you do have, number 1 for sure has to be the credit cards. It has the most interest. Then you should take on your personal loans and then go after the high interest auto loans. The best method that I would say is take the avalanche approach where you pay the minimum on everything but attack the highest interest rates first, because mathematically this saves the most money. And remember, if you were to ever get into debt again, debt should only exist if it helps you build and not consume. Like, you don't want to get into debt just because you want to buy some things off of Fashion Nova or a Macy's or a Nordstrom. Let's move on towards step number 4. Automate everything. Automation is probably one of the biggest trends heading into 2026. I've kind of felt it in 2025, but for sure in 2026 it's going to be huge. And the reason why automation works is because it does remove emotion. It does build consistency. It does protect you from the laziness and stress. So for example, if you don't know what automation means, let's just say that you have income coming in every month. You want to set up your direct deposit to split your paycheck between checking, savings, and the investment accounts automatically. Like, you don't want to be able to do that on your own manually. You want to save all that stress and time to just have a machine do it for you. Or maybe you have bills to pay every month. You can just automatically set everything on the 1st of the month or on the 15th of the month, whatever is available, and just have those reoccurring bills happen every month without you just having to sign in, pay some bills, because that's ultimately going to lead towards emotions, stress, laziness. You're not going to want to do it. You might forget. You want to have that automatically so you never forget about paying rent, utilities, any insurance, loans, maybe subscriptions. Put that all on auto pay. That is what I do mean by automating everything. So automate the emergency fund deposits, automate your retirement contributions, your investment transfers, the bill payments, everything. Let's move on towards step number 5. And we are going to get much more specific here, because here is going to be the reality of the market. AI companies are driving the most gains. They just are. And that is the future that we are headed towards too, and especially in 2026. And we do have to take on this strategy called the barbell approach. So think of your investments in 2 buckets. You have bucket 1, where you have your safety route, where most of your money is going to go. It should go on index funds, bonds, cash, CDs. And then you have bucket 2, which is going to be the growth route. Smaller portions, because most of your money is going to go on the safety route, but this could be the AI focused funds, the emerging markets. And with this type of balance, it does give you growth without blowing yourself up. Let's talk about another way we can move your money. Let's go to step number 6, retirement. It's a tax superpower. Retirement investing is huge for 2026. I know that if you're listening to this, you're probably like 18, 19, 20, 21, 25, 26 years old, and you're not even thinking about retirement. You're probably even saying like, I don't even plan on retiring until I'm like 95 years old. But that day is going to come no matter what. So you might as well just like start early. You're going to thank yourself later. You want to be able to use tax advantages to your full potential, and investing in your retirement is the best way. So strengthen your 401ks, strengthen your Roth IRA, or maybe even your HSA. I understand that this is like slow wealth being built, but it is reliable wealth. That is the only thing you want to focus on. Moving on towards step number 7, and that is insurance and protection. It is boring, but very critical. You want to be able to review this every year, because first of all, life does change, and it changes drastically just out of nowhere. Costs do rise, and a lot of risk is evolved. So review your health insurance, review your auto and renter's home insurance, your disability insurance. You want to be able to have insurance because it's going to protect you from everything that you're building in your life. Moving on towards step number 8, and that is loud budgeting and transparency. Now, this is a growing trend. We have never heard about this type of strategy, but it is something that has been introduced in mid 2025 and for sure will be growing in 2026. You should talk openly about money, reduce the shame, like improve the accountability with your friends. You're going to be able to help some people when you learn new things and how you're taking on certain situations financially. Maybe they might help you. They might give you some tips on whatever you're going through. So do like some monthly money check-ins with a partner. Share your goals with one of your most trusted friends. It can even be your cousins. Maybe it could be your brother or sister. Share them and say like, this is how much money I want to have in my investment account or savings account or whatever by the end of May 2026. Like, share that. It's fine. Even talk about like where you can find new deals at a certain food market. Like, for example, like you can tell your friend like, oh, I bought like 3 steaks for the price of like 2. You can just buy it over here and I save this much money and I'm going to allocate this extra money to my investments or something. If you talk openly about this with somebody else, it's going to have you more accountable, and it just makes things way more fun. Just think of it like if you and your friend go to the gym and you guys are counting each other's weights and how much you guys lift, and you guys just talk about it later and you guys are like, oh yeah, like I hit 325 yesterday on the deadlift, like how was yours? And he's going to say like, oh, I hit like 319 or something. And it's like, okay, so maybe if you do this complementary exercise, you can get stronger in this lift. Like, it just makes things way way more fun. Step number 9, let's educate ourselves in finance. For example, 2026 is going to reward the people who understand how AI impacts the job market and also in investing. If you know about the automation tools, you're going to get ahead. If you know about the tax changes, you will be ahead. If you know about the hybrid banking models, you will get ahead. Stay on top of all of this. Make sure you read a lot, read history, read weekly. And when you do, make sure that you don't read just the headlines. When you see it on X or Instagram or Meta or anywhere on Google, make sure you don't read the headlines. Or if you see something on TV, do further research and look for the long form explanation and see if it's legit and see like if this is actually something that could benefit you or it's just pure hype. Question the hype. Learn just enough to avoid any sort of bad decisions. And most importantly, which is step number 10, and this is going to be really for you guys, and I want this to hit home for all of you guys. I know that finance and personal finance investing, it's very important, but at the end of the day, it is a tool. It's not the ultimate goal, and it's not going to be something that shows you who you truly are. No, don't tie your self-worth to your net worth. Like I've said, yes, money is important. It is, but it is not the most important. And avoid any sort of emotional investing because something looks sexy. When you are thinking about making a big purchase, use the 24-hour rule and really think about it. And if it does not make any sense whatsoever to buy something that does require you to pay like $500, $800 or whatever, just use that extra money to invest heavily on your health, on extra skills and relationships. Like if you have that extra money and you have been doing your job and you say like, oh yeah, I only have like maybe $250 to spend on myself, right? Because I have money already in my 401k, I have money in a savings account, I have money in a high yields savings account or whatever, and you just so happen to have $250 extra just for yourself, then just use that money to better your health, to maybe learn a new skill that can enhance your life. Maybe use that money for a relationship. That, my friends, is the most important thing. It does not always have to be about, okay, I have this extra $200 to $250. Let me see how I can compound this and make even more money with this money. Sometimes it is best to just relax a little and enjoy what you are creating. So think of 2026 as a year where you're not going to be gambling on any sort of trends at all. What you're doing is all about building systems that quietly win while others react. That, my friends, is how you're going to be staying ahead for 2026. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.